Hey Eagles, and welcome back to the Student News.
I'm Martin, and this is Noah.
Our verse of the day today is, "You will be made rich in every way so that you can be generous on every occasion, and through us your generosity will result in thanksgiving to God," which is said in 2 Corinthians 9:11.
Why does God bless us with riches? So that we can bless others with our riches. Now on to sports. Our Eagles teams have all been on a roll this season.
Our boys soccer team had two close, hard-fought losses. One to Jasper with a score of 2-0 and one to Bossy with a hard-fought score of 6-2.
And our boys tennis team won their match for South Knox 3-2, but had a hard-fought loss to Mater Dei 5-0.
Speaking of sports, this weekend is a really big weekend for our senior athletes, with senior night for the volleyball team tonight, the 18th, for the boys soccer team tomorrow, the 19th, and the girls soccer team on Monday, the 21st. Don't forget to come out and support your Eagles.
And now on to Antone, who got to catch up with Mr. Allen on how our new elementary campus is going.
Thank you, Martin and Noah. I'm here with Mr. Allen, right where the new elementary school is going to be. How does that make you feel?
Oh my gosh, like I literally just picked this grass from the site of the future elementary building that will start to be built here in just a few weeks with moving dirt and stuff. This may be the last you see of this grass for a long time. So how do I feel? This is a lot of work that has gone to get to this point. We still have a lot of work left, but golly man, when I look at little kindergarten faces, little first and second and third grade faces, and I know this is where they're going to be next year, I'm overjoyed.
That's good. Could you tell me the timeline and when do you think the construction will start?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got everything run through the state right now for permission to actually start building. So, it's early September right now. I expect that you'll start to see some movement out here of grass here in the next probably 2 to 3 weeks. In November, I believe, is when we're going to start seeing the concrete walls be delivered, just like we have at our elementary school or at our high school. Those precast walls are going to be delivered, and that's going to be what the main frame of the building is going to be. And then that is when they can start to get the roof on and get it under roof and start doing all the interior stuff. So in a timeline, we expect to have this thing ready to get some keys and start moving in early to mid-July for a start date of early August. So man, we're on like a 10-month sprint right now.
Right. How has God helped the development of the elementary school?
Man, how has God helped the development of the elementary school? I tend to think about things of where do I see God working, and typically Matthew West has a song called "Do Something." And I love how he says, when people look at God and say, "God, why don't you do something? Why don't you help?" He said, "I did. I created you." I see people that are just so committed to the stabilization of Christian education in Southern Indiana that believe so much in what God is doing through Evansville Christian School that they are giving an incredible amount of money towards this project. We've collected about $8.5 million in gifts and commitments from people, and we've still got a ways to go on that. But to see how God has put people's hearts now to give towards this at this point, I'm just excited to watch how we get to experience the generosity of what happens in the body of Christ when everybody's in.
Do you think there will eventually be a junior high built on this property?
We were gifted with, look at this beautiful scene. Mm-hmm. We were gifted with a lot of opportunity on this land 5 years ago. And so the fact that we're able to put an elementary on here within 4 years of opening our high school, to me, is something that I never could have imagined happening. But just the way God has kind of positioned things, it's been something that's been a necessity. So the question of could we put a junior high on, we still have land all along the backside there that could absolutely have a building someday. And I think if any of the families that are out here right now and listening to this just want to go ahead and write a $25 million check and we can just knock it out, the sooner the better. But until then, we're going to trust what God has given us today, and then just continue planning for the future.
With all the cars that are going to be coming in both campuses and then increased student drivers, how are you guys going to control the traffic?
Man, traffic is always interesting. The good news is that we don't have to think about that as much because we have civil engineers who do that as a profession, and they think through traffic flow. And the way that our parking lot runs and our entrances and all the things that we're going to have to do to make sure that everything does flow, it's part of the requirement of being able to get a building permit.
Give it a shot. Well, back to you and Noah, signing off.
Yeah!
Thank you, Antone.
It is great to see how our school is building to promote the next generation.
And now on to Rylan, who checked in with a few of our student drivers.
Thank you, Noah and Martin. Here I'm joined with Adam in the ECS parking lot.
Hello.
So I heard that you've completed your driver's ed.
I have.
How'd that go?
It was okay. It was hard to find some motivation to finish it, but it was definitely worth it in the end.
How's your experiences with your driving instructors?
Most of them were good. They basically just sat there the entire time silently and just told me where to go whenever they needed to. So I guess that's good. Yeah.
So now that you have your license, how's your driving been going?
I think it's been going good. I think I drive fine. I don't know if other people think that, but yeah.
So I heard you fixed up your own car. Is that true?
I have. This one likes to break a lot, and it's way too expensive to go to the dealership, so yeah, gotta do it yourself sometimes. Save some money.
Sure, it's a fun experience getting to fix it up, though.
Not all the time. It can be a headache, definitely.
Some hardships in there.
Some tears shed.
Well, thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
So have you completed your driver's ed?
I have completed my driver's ed, yes.
How'd that go?
It went pretty good.
Can you give me some examples of how it went?
It was good with some driver instructors, bad with the others. Some of them liked you, some of them didn't.
Yeah. So can I get some of those examples of the bad times with your driving instructors?
Been yelled at for going the speed limit. Been yelled at for going through a yield sign without completely stopping, which you can go through if there's no one coming, so
Yeah, that's
just
tough.
driver's ed instructors.
Right. Now how about driving? How's that been now that you got your license?
Driving's been good. Of course, it's Evansville, so not every person on the road makes it safe for you to drive, but I try to drive safe. I think I drive well.
Yeah. How do you feel your car reflects your personality?
Big dog status. That's it. Big me, big car, big dog status.
That was a quick response.
Good walk.
Well, thank you, Adam and Josiah. Now back to Martin and Noah back in the studio.
Thank you, Rylan.
And now I got to catch up with Mr. Wilhite on a few of the changes that we're making this year with the difference in chapels. Mr. Wilhite, what were some of the thoughts that went into the planning of this year's chapel?
Hey Noah, it's good to be with you, and thanks for the opportunity. Hey, there was a lot of planning that was involved for this year. Seems like more so than previous years, just because of the pandemic and COVID and restrictions and all this kind of stuff. So we had a lot of practical issues to kind of work through. And so what we settled on was that over at Cullen, we're going to offer chapels live, but we separated the 6th grade with the 7th grade, and we have chapels on different days.
Okay.
And we also are not having corporate worship. We're not singing together. There's some studies out there that as we breathe deeper, and you have to breathe deeper when you sing, that the spread can be a little bit more drastic, and so we want to take every precaution as possible. At the high school, we're doing something different. We are recording at Epworth United Methodist Church. Okay. Pastor Danny Barr is spending a lot of time with me, pre-recording the videos and stuff, and then we're distributing that out to the Bible classes.
Got it. How have you taken practical steps in putting chapels online this year?
Ellie Moore is a rock star, man. Yeah. She is just kind of taking that ball and just she's rolling with it. And she's got a chapel website that she sends out to the Bible teachers and to me as well. And I kind of use some of that for the worship time. She's been putting together some videos with different hymns or different worship songs, talking about the story behind the song. Since we can't really sing, a lot of the songs are familiar to us, right? Yep. We know them in our heart, we know them in our mind, but it's nice to hear the stories in the lead up as to how those songs were birthed.
Yeah.
So it gives us a new perspective.
Is it weird preaching to a camera?
It is. It is with nobody there. I mean,
Yeah.
because I'm a very relational person, I like to read people's body language and facial expressions to see if they really get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Then you can reteach or go back over it in a different way. But with nobody there, and I'm really dependent upon the Lord and His grace and His Holy Spirit, and I act like there's people in there, you know what I mean? So, and plus the lighting is really bright, so I probably wouldn't be able to see everybody anyway.
Yeah.
But you just have to be prayed up, and you got to be prepared, and then God does His thing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. How have this year's events affected like the topics that we talk about in chapel?
Topics, well, I tell you what, Mr. Wick and I, each year, we spend some time talking about what we're going to do the next year. And the situation, the conditions that we're in, really kind of gave an opportunity to have these topics, because the topics that we're talking about is they're based off of a book that I've written.
Okay.
And that book is going to be coming out within the next month.
That is really cool.
I got a copy in my book bag. I can
Awesome.
promote it right here. Woo!
Awesome.
It's a dream come true. It's taken
That's
a
super
ton
cool.
of work, and I think it was 170 pages.
Okay.
But it just walks you through 7 scriptures that every Christian should be very, very serious about. We should be serious about the entirety of the Word of God.
Yeah.
But these 7 should really mark our lives and our approach to life, our approach to worship, our approach to others. And through the lockdown and everything kind of slowing down for a while, I was able to write about half of this book. And so because of this, now we have an opportunity for all of this to come together.
That is really, really cool.
Pretty neat.
That's cool. Thank you, Mr. O'Hite.
No, you're awesome, man.
Thank
I'm glad to know that through this weird time, we still get to spend time with God as a school.
Speaking of that, didn't you get to check in with a few of the Bible teachers on how we've made changes this year?
Yes, I did, and here's what they had to say. So I am here with Miss Beaver. Miss Beaver, do you think there are benefits to splitting up our Bible classes this year? And if so, can you give me a few of them?
Yes, I do. I think it's very beneficial to move towards having a Bible class for each grade, 9th grade Bible class, 10th, 11th, 12th. For one thing, it allows us to move through the curriculum we have chosen at a pace that I think is most beneficial for the students. And then I think there are a lot of differences between a 9th grade student and a 12th grade student, and their spiritual needs and their spiritual, maybe where they are spiritually, and dividing the classes, splitting the classes lets us address those more specifically.
What are you teaching differently than Mr. Lyons, our other Bible teacher?
He is teaching one of the upper levels of the curriculum. We're teaching the same curriculum. There's a 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And there's a scope of sequence whereby you start by examining what you believe and why. Can we rely on Scripture as truth? Is it a reliable source? And that's where I am with the 9th and 10th graders. And then Mr. Valines is with 11th and 12th graders going into deeper doctrine. Once we've established that, yes, the Bible is a reliable source and we can believe in it, and then next year you move into, okay, well, is Jesus who He says He is? And then Mr. Valines is teaching the more deeper doctrines and theological issues for the upperclassmen.
What is the core goal of splitting up our Bible classes?
The couple of things, I think. One is to keep the classes smaller so that students get more individual attention. And another would be keeping them more grade level specific, grade level appropriate, looking at more foundational issues in the first couple years of high school, and then moving towards the deeper theological and doctrinal truths of Christianity in the upper levels. So it just allows students to progress through the process of the foundations of their faith.
Thank you. Do you think there any benefits to having split Bible classes? And if so, can we have a few of them?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is when you've got split classes, like the way we've got them, so 11th and 12th graders all together, you've got a group of people that for the most part are familiar with each other. And so some of those barriers to conversation are broken down already because you've got some familiarity. That's probably the most important thing. There's an intellectual maturity that matters, as you get older, but what you don't know is spiritual maturity. You could have a senior who's new to Christianity or not a Christian at all, but there's an intellectual maturity that's there, where juniors and seniors are going to act generally their age. 9th and 10th graders are going to act generally their age, but when you mix, sometimes a junior and senior might act down to that freshman or sophomore level, or sometimes that freshman or sophomore might try to act up and try to be somebody they're not. So I think it adds some individual honesty to the conversation as well. Those are probably the two biggest advantages.
What are the differences that you're teaching from Miss Beaver?
So Miss Beaver, she's teaching out of a workbook that's primarily like foundations of the faith type of stuff, and the book that we're using is dealing with bigger, broader theological concepts, and it's assuming a certain level of awareness to an individual's faith and things like that. So it's trying to think a little more deeply about our faith rather than just what are the building blocks.
What is the core goal for the split Bible classes?
Well, I think the reason the office worked so hard at dividing the classes up, 9th and 10th grade and 11th and 12th grade, is to start working on a pattern where kids wouldn't necessarily get the exact same class over and over again. I think it has to do with some of the stuff we talked about earlier, but I think there's the fancy word is pedagogy, your method of teaching. I think the idea is to build a foundation with 9th and 10th graders, and then with 11th and 12th graders, build on that foundation, but not be repeating the information over and over and over again. One of the struggles we're having is we're working hard on putting together a good Bible curriculum, because surprisingly there's not really a lot of good sources for Bible curriculum. So the last couple of years have been experimental, and this is one of the steps we're taking to start to incorporate some of the things we've used in a way that shows development among students rather than just restarting every year with kind of the same stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
And
Thanks,
now
guys.
back to me and Noah in the studio.
Thanks, Martin, for helping us get a closer look into our Bible classes for this year.
And AJ got a chance to catch up with our new math teacher, Miss Barrett.
Thanks, Martin and Noah. I'm here with Ms. Barrett, teacher here at ECS of Geometry and Math. Ms. Barrett, how did you become a teacher at ECS?
I found out about the job position through a mutual friend with Mrs. Allen, and I actually met Mrs. Allen at a basketball game last year, and she informed me about the job, and I applied and ended up getting it.
How did your faith influence your decision?
It greatly influenced my decision. Being able to work at a school that you are able to proclaim what you believe in and share that with the students and have that same goal with your teaching staff was really awesome. So I knew going into a job like this over a public school was something I definitely desired. So it greatly influenced my decision.
So what are some of the things that you most enjoy about ECS?
Oh goodness, I love so much about ECS already, and I've only been here a few weeks. At the beginning of every one of my classes, we have a question of the day, and I just get to know the students better and better each day. So I love getting to know the students, and that's been super enjoyable. And also the staff. I love the staff here. They have such a passion for Christ, and they have such a passion for their students as well. So just getting to love on these students and teach them has just been so amazing, but also teach them with a staff and a principal and a guy like Mr. Allen that loves these students so much has been truly amazing.
How has the current pandemic affected you personally as a new teacher?
Oh goodness. It definitely has affected me in a few areas. In college, they don't really teach you how to teach during a pandemic, which I would say most teachers agree with that. So coming here, it is different because I have remote and online students, and you're not really taught how to deal with that. So just adjusting in the best way possible and asking a lot of questions, because these teachers have done it longer than I have, has been really important, and they've been so helpful. So I would say, and another way it's affected me is I don't always know the bottom half of my student's face. I know the top half and I can tell you what their eyeballs look like, but when it comes to the bottom half, all I see is a mask. So it'll be interesting to see when this ends one day if I actually know what your face looks like, because I only see the top half. So definitely getting to know names and the top half of your face has been really interesting.
It's very true. And finally, just like more of a fun question, what do you enjoy doing in your spare time?
Oh goodness, I do so much. I love being outside. One of my favorite things to do with my husband is walk our dog. We have a dog named Bo, and he's amazing, and we love taking him on Jeep rides in the summer and getting outside. I also love Texas Roadhouse. My students know about this. So we go there often, and I love Target, so it's usually my dream night is Texas Roadhouse and Target, and I know that's basic, but I love it so much. So if you ever need to find me, I'll be at Target. I love it.
Well, thank you so much, Mrs. Barrett. We're so blessed to have you at our school.
Yeah.
Back to you.
Thanks, AJ. That's all that we have for you this week, Eagles.
Don't forget to come and support your seniors this weekend during all our senior night games. And I hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week on ECHS Student News.